Sup, everybody? This is Jamie Hunter from the Vamp Podcast. History or Nothing Festival is going to be on November 22nd at the Adelaide Hall. We have one of the stars that's going to be performing that night on November 22nd. It's Nigel Birch. He's a poet,
Yes, sir.
spoken word.
Yes.
My question is, what got you into spoken word, yo?
It's a great question. You know, it always comes back to the foundation, mom and dad. So my dad was, first he was in school for journalism, and then he transitioned to business administration. But he used to write a lot, and I used to just watch him write, and I picked up the style, copied his style until I figured out my own. And then I remember I have a story, because I grew up in Atlanta, and I remember when I wanted to transition from writing on paper to the stage, there was this open mic. And it was like my Will Smith moment where I jumped on stage and I was so nervous. I was drinking wine or some heavy liquor and I started strong and then I forgot my words. And then it was dead silent and I found myself again. But then I had an opportunity to do another piece and then I fumbled that completely and I never went back to the stage for years.
Oh, wow.
So then when I moved back to Toronto, had an opportunity to do some theater with the homie Troy Crossfield. And that kind of opened me up because I had this opportunity to do a spoken word piece before the show opened, and it was well received. So from there, I was like, okay, I can get back to this. And then that led me to putting out Black Woman, and then Black Woman went viral, and pretty much that kind of created some momentum for me. But even prior to going on stage and figuring it out, I had a chance to go to Sunday Social,
Right.
And do a couple pieces and get a feel for how people were receiving my work, and it went well. So I just kind of felt it out and started trickling back into the scene, and then people started to know who I was and started requesting me, and it became something that led to creating this creating more visual pieces, because I realized that was an opening in poetry, is there wasn't a lot of visual accompaniment with the pieces themselves. People would do them or they would do poetry slam, but I wanted to make it reflective like an R&B video. So then that kind of caught some momentum, as well as a person that was the voice behind these videos and these series, and then that led to me doing other artistic endeavors. So started with mom and pops, bombing on stage, getting an opportunity in theater, and then moving forward. And then here we are today, 4 years from that time, and I'm still pushing forward with the art, brother.
That's amazing. I'm glad you didn't stop.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing one of your performances at Sunday Social.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember is I remember the Black Woman ones. I remember so even when you talked about infidelity and stuff like that as well. It's
sure.
One thing I want to ask is when it comes to some of these topics, is it certain things you experience yourself, or is it experiences from others? Because it's very wide.
Yes.
It's you.
Got you. That's a great question. I think it's a amalgamation of a whole bunch of things. A lot, my personal experience. I think that anytime you're dealing with self and awareness, there has to be a point of reflection where you go through these experiences, and in order to move forward and not make the same mistake, you got to either write it down and say, okay, these are the things that I'm seeing about myself, and be honest about doing the shadow work. So I think that my writing has been a place where I can actually purge and let my truth out, and also a place of healing and therapy.
Right.
Especially for Black men, don't really, a lot of men may not want to go to therapy or may not have that opportunity to talk to some of their homies. Writing was a vehicle to express that and put it on paper, and kind of come face to face with some of the stuff that was deep in the subconscious, or things that I failed to reflect on, or things that I want to grow from. So I think all these things are reflective of myself, or then another piece could be people you come in contact. And I've always provided a safe space for men and women to come and sit and vibe with me. So listening to their experiences with the empathetic ear, you take in a lot of stuff. Because I consider myself an empath, where if someone tells me something, I feel that. So with that, I was able to say, okay, let me start penning those stories. So what happened was, even when I did, and I know I'm jumping around, my first stage play, it was reflective of the experiences of the people that I was working with. So I developed this skill of being able to translate someone's story and almost make it my own. So a lot of times people request for me to write, and it was from their perspective. But I would say for the most part, it's me, my experiences, but there is a blend of other people's experiences in the writing as well, for sure.
That's something I definitely hear in it.
I appreciate it.
And one thing I want to ask, like even from the vocabulary, like what books do you like read? Like if there's books that you would
Man.
give, like, because I feel like when I'm listening, it's like,
Yeah, it's funny. It's crazy because it's like when I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about, you know, there's this. You have the super woke poets. You have the
Right.
sexy poets. So for me, it was like, what do I want to exhibit in the world? So my biggest thing is my focus is love and identity. So with identity, it has a lot to do with in this season, in this reincarnation, I am a black man. So, you know, whether it's James Baldwin, whether it's, you know, Malcolm X, whether it's about books like Brainwash, which I think is a dope book, whether it's why all the black kids sitting at the in the cafeteria together, going from all the way to a book that I read called Atlas of the Heart. So I'm always blending the reality of feelings, urges, and temperament with the existence in this black body, because I don't think you can navigate in the world without identifying the natural things we all deal with, which is our thoughts and our feelings, but then the reality of being black.
Right.
So black woman is a blend of the black woman experience, but how are we going to love them, which requires me to go into how I feel about myself and love and emotions. So there's no avoiding these things. So as I dive deeper into them, there's some realities that come from that. And it's like, how now I can reason and say, how do I want to love a black woman? Because in that, I'm able to look at some of the feelings that I've addressed in my introspection, but also look at the plight that we deal with as black people. So yeah, I'm always reading some form of, you know, conscious book, but also making sure I balance that with something that deals with, you know, healing, love, and therapy. So that's kind of, you know, how I write and I express myself.
that's definitely what I hear. Because
Yeah.
I even listen, because I went into the Spotify's, I listened to the, I forgot what it's called, but You and Stretch.
Oh yeah, mixtape messages, man. That's my
Yes,
guy.
and
Stretchy,
I was
yeah.
listening to it, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, even to the stuff I've listened to, it's like one thing is like some things convict me myself, because it's like I need to
appreciate that.
identify
Yeah.
like more identity myself, and
yeah.
then even in what you said, like when you're hearing other people's story, I could definitely hear that as well, because sometimes I'm like, is he talking about himself or is he talking about
Exactly.
somebody else? But
Yeah.
I think like the fact that you bridge those two together just make it perfect for anybody could just listen.
Yeah, and just to add, like one thing I've been doing lately, and I've always done, is if you look at the difference between 90s and 2000 music from 70s and 80s, if you go back to 70s and 80s, there's that music is, you can learn through the music. Like they were showing you in a more, and you could say even a more masculine way, how you want to give or explain to your woman something that you may not have in your vocabulary. So I wanted to fill a void where, you know, music right now is speaking about, you know, what you have as far as separating yourself from a rich, wealthy standpoint versus the every common day dude or woman that's struggling with things that doesn't know how to express it. So, you know, I was trying to do that from a poetic standpoint as well. That's part of my mission. So, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Definitely, when I say I definitely hear that in like all the poetry I've heard so far, for me, it's like, for me, like I said, it's always been one of those things that when I hear it, it's like, it's talking to myself. It makes me realize, yes, I need more therapy. I need to find that in myself.
Appreciate it.
And also it shows like, just in order for me to love black women and, you know, I need to learn to love myself as well.
Come on,
that's
the
not
message,
even a debate. And
that's real.
another thing for me is like I also have to know to like at least talk about my situation. Like the hardest thing is to talk sometimes.
For sure.
So I appreciate the fact that you're putting it out there.
Appreciate that, brother.
I appreciate the fact that, you know, that's that is your lane and you're pushing it out there, and can't wait to see you at the concert.
Oh man, I don't even know what to say, man. I just appreciate the fact that you took something from it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the most important thing amongst, you know, people telling you that you're an artist and you're a good artist or you should be A, B, and C. The fact that you found some value in it, that touches me, brother, for sure.
Just to wrap things up, where can they find you?
You can find me at EDXVD or Night. Let me just. You can find me at nigelbirchisedxvd.com, or let me do that again.
That's all good.
So you can find me at nigelbirchisedxvd, or you can find me at edxvd.com, which is my website, and that stands for Every Day is Valentine's Day. So if you want to learn more, just hit me up on the website. Yeah.
All right, and he's also going to be speaking of spoken word on November 22nd.
That's it.
At Adelaide Hall for History and Nothing Festival. This wraps up the interview. Thank you guys for watching. This is the event. Nigel D. Birch. We out. Peace.
Appreciate that, brother.